the 5th Brook Green Festival. I'm very glad to see so many people here. I know a lot of you have had this date in your diary for a long time because you've been wound up by Rachel not to miss it. And the rest of you have been wound up by Brook Green Festival. And I'm very, very grateful. The festival's been going for 5 years. The idea was to have something for people who love books and who live locally. And so far it's so good. But I think this evening is going to be something slightly different. And if anything, the best of new departures. Rachel has been working on this book for a very long time. It is, for those who love poetry, it's a spin-off from an app which she created. You can go onto your telephone or your iPad and find great actors reading poetry, or you can, as is much more enjoyable, come to the bush and hear them. We have Julian Brook and Isla Blair, who are both going to perform. You've got one more guest coming later. What I need to say before I bang on any more about the particular performance is that if there is a fire drill, it's not a fire drill. You all have to run. Go through the doors, find the fire exits, and just leave. The second thing I have to do is thank our sponsors, Finley Brewer, who are estate agents, and also the ushers tonight. And the third thing I have to do is say, please welcome Rachel, Julian, and Isla.
Thank you, Susanna, for everyone, for those very kind words. I'm Rachel Kelly. As Susanna said, I created a poetry app about a year ago with my partner, Ali Aziri, and we've now jointly edited our poetry anthology together. Ali came to me, she was a whiz with her iPad, and she came to me because she knew that poetry meant an awful lot to me. I think it started when I was quite young. I loved poetry as a child. It is a children's poetry anthology, and it is a children's poetry app. And then what happened was, as I grew up, really my mother got me used to the idea that a poem could be your friend in a time of need. And the very first poem that my mother gave me was by someone called Louis MacNeice, and it's called Apple Blossom. And I was suffering from a broken heart, and it's got this wonderful line. It said, the first blossom was the last blossom for the child that had never seen an orchard. And this was revelatory to me. This was extraordinary to me. I felt as if Louis MacNeice was sort of speaking to me, because I felt like I would never see an orchard, and that would never really live again. And Louis MacNeice was my friend in times of trouble. So anyway, I grew up, and I didn't really think that much about poetry, but nonetheless, I kind of developed a pattern with friends, which is that friends would send me poems when things happened to them, and I'd send them poems when things happened to me, or in response to things that were happening. And this kind of pattern continued. And then I really basically became really much more obsessed by poetry because I became quite ill with depression. And my mother was looking after me. My mother, sadly, is not here tonight, but she's an incredible lover of poetry and an incredible influencer. And I was ill in bed, and she said, I'm going to read you this poem, and it was by George Herbert, and it's called Love, and it's in our anthology because I think it can speak to an adult, but it can speak to a child. And I recommend you read it, look it up or whatever. And the first line is, love bade me welcome, but my soul drew back, guilty of dust and sin. I'm not going to read the whole poem because we've got experts to read poems. But to me, the description of guilty of dust and sin perfectly described how I was feeling. And the notion that love could bid me welcome, and that love could be this compassionate voice, and that I could turn to love, was really, again, an extraordinary moment for me. So ever since, I have been very, very interested in poetry and very obsessed with poetry, and this notion that poetry can help you in dark times. And since I've been involved with poetry and I've done the app and I've co-edited the book, as I say, with my partner, I've now started going into prisons with poetry. I've been going into schools with poetry. And of course, there are many ways to enjoy poetry, and I'm not saying that the sort of value of poetry in hard times is the only value of poetry. But I just wanted to mention that to you, because that was really why poetry spoke so much to me. Good, so that's really a little bit about me and why I've got so involved with poetry. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this evening, and I'm going to just introduce our guests, and then we're in the hands of the experts. So, Isla and Julian very kindly agreed to come along tonight. They're going to read as a sort of double act. They're a husband and wife team, as you probably know. They're going to read around 10 poems each, and they're very kindly also going to tell us a little bit about why they chose the poems and why these poems mean so much to them, a bit like I've been saying to you why poetry has meant a lot to me. Without more ado, let me tell you a little bit about Julian and Isla. The other thing I meant to say is that the evening is in aid of Save the Children, and also a local literacy charity, volunteer reading help, so we can all feel good about that as well. So let me tell you finally a little bit Isla and Julian. So Julian, I think is very relevant to say, is probably, well, he's known for many things, a very distinguished Shakespearean actor, as indeed is Isla. They both trained with the Royal Shakespeare Company and performed for really many, many years in all the important Shakespearean roles. And of course, you can't really talk about poetry without talking about Shakespeare, so they really couldn't be better placed to be here tonight reading poems for us. In addition, both have had distinguished film and television careers. Julian, as you probably all know, is best known, probably, well, one of the things he's known for, being a Bond baddie. It's very important to me that we've got Skyfall, and many other things beside. The final thing I want to say is that Isla is going to read to us with Julian, and then halfway through she's going to also tell you a little bit about her own book, and why it's so important to her, and why she felt passionately that she wanted to be here tonight, and she wanted to support a literacy charity. So I give you Isla.
Thank you.